Today we are here with Esther, who has lived in Scotland for 4 years. So, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
That's good. You were born in the Netherlands, right?
Yes, I was born in Holland, yes.
And how old were you when you moved to Scotland?
I was 10 years old.
Okay. And what made you decide to go to Scotland, or didn't you have a choice?
Yes, I did have a choice. My father was already in Scotland working, and he wanted us to move there, and I was given a choice. I could have gone to Scotland for 2 years, and then after that, after I'd finished my primary education, I could have moved back to Holland and gone to boarding school to do my secondary education. But I didn't want that, so I chose to come to Scotland with my father and my mother and just go to a normal Scottish school there, so I didn't have to go back to Holland for my secondary education.
Okay.
So you went to Scotland while you're still going to school. Was your knowledge of the English language sufficient to keep up with the rest, or did you have some problems with it?
I had problems in the beginning because I didn't know any English. I knew how to say yes and no, and I knew how to ask where the toilet was, and that was it. And I was just put in the school, and I was just left to cope.
And was the overall transfer from the Dutch education system to the Scottish one difficult?
No. The things they did in Scotland, when it comes to maths and language and other stuff, geography and everything, that was practically the same. The only thing was, of course, that I didn't get Dutch language education anymore. And the history lessons were different because it was based on British history, not Dutch history.
I can imagine you missed your friends from Holland. How did you keep in touch with them?
I didn't actually, not really frequently. We would go to Holland for holidays and I would see some friends then, but there wasn't really any, well, I could have written, I could have, written letters, but you didn't have internet or anything like that in those days. So I would see certain friends when I would go back to Holland on holidays, but that was it really.
And did you make new friends quickly?
Yes, I did. Yes, I was very lucky that I picked up really quickly on the language. So in that sense, within 3 months I could speak English, and that way I was able to make friends really, really quickly. Plus the area where we were living, there was quite a few children from other parts of the world. So it wasn't strange for me to be there as a foreigner. So that made it easier to make new friends.
Did life in Scotland differ a lot from the life you had in the Netherlands?
Yes, it did. It was different. Especially when it comes to school. The first thing that was really, really strange was I had to wear a school uniform. In Holland you don't have to wear a school uniform, so that was very strange. And yes, it was different. That's a good question actually. I'm trying to think what else was different. But the way the Scottish live is very different towards the people in Holland. I think in Scotland there's more etiquette, so that children are more forced to be more polite to people they don't know, and the Dutch children are a lot freer. So in that sense, I did have to adapt because I was more used to saying whatever I wanted to say and stuff like that. And the Scottish children are more subdued, more in the background.
Okay. And what were the things you missed most while you were in Scotland?
I missed my grandparents a lot and my 2 brothers because they stayed in Holland. They were older. Because we weren't able to get everything we wanted, so like dropjes, we would take them with us, or if someone came to stay with us, they would take it with them like that. I didn't really miss Holland all that much.
Okay.
No.
And was it hard to adapt, or do the Scots have a similar lifestyle compared to the Dutch?
Their lifestyle is similar, of course. It's a Western European lifestyle, but like I say, the first time I went to a birthday party, a friend from school asked me to come to her birthday party. And girls in Scotland, when they go to birthday, obviously I was only 10 years old, but they really dress up for the birthday parties, with dresses and stuff like that. And I wasn't used to that, I would just wear my jeans and sandals, and all these girls were like, and I was like, oh my God, and so, and the birthday party itself, they all sat nicely with their cake and everything, and in Holland, children just run around and do things. So, like I said, the Scottish children, I'm not saying that they're better behaved, but they behave differently. They're more formal. So that made a big change for me, yes, definitely.
But since you didn't miss Holland that much, what did you made you eventually decide to go back to the Netherlands?
During the time that I was in Scotland, my parents got divorced and my mother moved back to Holland, and at first I decided to stay with my father. But after a while I decided that I would more like to live with my mother, because my father was very strict and my mother was less strict. So after my mother had been back to Holland for a while, I decided that I would like to move back to Holland too. So it wasn't because of Holland, but it was more because I wanted to live with my mother again.
And when you look back on your time in Scotland, how would you describe it?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I really loved Scotland. It's a very nice place. I love Scottish history, so much more than Dutch history. Don't know why, because Dutch history is nice too, but you know, Scotland, Mary Queen of Scots. I don't know if you were taught anything about the British history,
No,
but
not
that's one of the Scottish queens who actually had a right to the English throne too, but the English queen decided to chop her head off. You know, the history and not just the history itself, but the history, and you actually are able to visualise that history because all the castles are still there in Scotland. So to see these things and know these stories, I found that very, very nice to know about. And I just loved Scotland. It really still is my second home. Absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm. And do you still miss friends from Scotland?
Yes, I do, very much so. That's why I'm very happy that something like internet and Facebook exists, because I was back in Scotland 3 weeks ago, and I saw my old girlfriend Shelley. I hadn't seen her for 15 years, but she found me through Facebook. And 3 years ago when I was in Scotland, I met Neil, one of my school friends. I hadn't seen him for 30 years. And there was another Neil that I went to school with, and when I was in Scotland 3 weeks ago, I saw him again, and that was the first time in 33 years that I'd seen him. And it's really nice to catch up with these friends again, because I do miss them, plus I do miss sharing the memories I had there, because I can't share them with anyone here because they weren't there, so there's no point in sharing them. I have always missed my friends in Scotland, and now thankfully for internet and Facebook, I'm back in touch with some friends again, and that's really nice. I really like that.
Yeah, and you still visit Scotland frequently, yeah?
Yes, well, I did till 3 years ago. My father still lived in Scotland. When my parents got divorced after that, my father married a Scottish lady. So I have a Scottish stepfamily. And 3 years ago my father died, but up till then, you know, I would visit Scotland twice a year. I would go back and help my father with the house and the garden. So I would usually be in Scotland for a week in May and usually in October for a week. Since my father died 3 years ago, I hadn't been back, so this was the first time in 3 years. And I took my best friend with me. So that was really, really nice to show someone else from here why I love Scotland so much, and he fell in love with the country too.
And are there any other friends you'd like to take with you to Scotland?
I would like to take everyone with me. No, I would love to take everyone with me, because to me it's a second home, because I have a lot of good memories there, and there's still people that live there that I know. So I would like to, you know, for everyone to see how beautiful it is there, and people always say about Scotland, oh no, I don't want to go there because it always rains there. Well, it doesn't always rain there. I mean, the climate is, you know, you can compare it with Holland. It's practically the same climate, just a little bit colder and a little bit more rain on the west coast, but it is such a beautiful country and the people are so friendly. So I would love for everyone to come and see how nice it is there.
And speaking about holidays, do you have a lot of spare time to go to Scotland, or does your job take up a lot of time?
I get about 5 weeks a year for holidays. I think it's 6 weeks now. So there is enough time to go. In principle there is enough time to go, but I don't want to just only go to Scotland. I would like to visit other places too, so I have to make choices.
Can you tell us a little more about your job?
Yes, I'm a social worker. The people I work with all have psychiatric problems and sometimes also have been in jail, and they have money problems. Some of them have had debts, sometimes high debts. and either I or one of my co-workers try to help them sort out their finances and their money situation, try to stabilise them so that they can go into a special programme which can help them get debt-free in 3 years' time. So that's basically what I do.
And is there any particular reason why you chose for this profession?
I like helping people and I like working with people. And working with psychiatric people, of people with psychiatric problems, you know, sometimes they can be a bit funny in how they act or how they say things, and I like that because it means that I don't have to be serious all the time either, so that's why I like my job so much.
And we've heard that you recently graduated.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to go back to college?
Well, when I was in secondary school, when I did the HAFO, we did job tests when we had to decide what subjects we wanted to take exams in, and based on those tests they already said you have to go and be a social worker because that's what the tests say, and I was like, no one tells me what to do, so I decided to do other things. I was a bit stubborn. I ended up working with mentally challenged people for quite some time and I really enjoyed it. And the last 7 years before I went back to college, I was actually doing social work with these. I would help them in all kinds of areas, and it was practically social work. So I decided to go back to college and get a better degree so I could get a better paying job and have more possibilities in working with other people too. So that's why I went back to college.
Okay, and not many people choose to go studying later in life. Was it easy to mix with the others, or was there a generation gap?
Well, I went to college part-time, so everyone in my class was already working, which means that there was already quite a few people who were older. So in that sense, it wasn't really all that difficult to connect with the other people. And age gaps, I don't believe in age gaps. I think if a person has a good character, whether they're 16 or 17 or 65, if I like them as a person, then I don't think age really matters. So in that sense, I mix quite easily with people of all ages.
And are there still any goals you would like to achieve in your life?
Whoa! Goals or dreams?
Yeah.
I don't really have many goals. I mean, I'm happy with the way things are. I like the job that I'm doing. I love the house that I'm living in. So in that sense, I don't really have goals, but I do have dreams. I mean, a dream is to go back to Scotland to live and start a bed and breakfast there. That is a dream, but I don't think it will ever happen. But sometimes it's good to have dreams. So I don't really have any goals. My goal is just to keep on living the way I'm living right now and be happy and just enjoy myself.
Oh well, we would like to thank you for this interview, and we enjoyed interviewing you.
Well, thank you very much for asking me.